Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you a new insert for my phone. This is my iPhone Plus, so it's the larger size iPhone, and I have a silicone clear case that I have put a couple different pictures in, and you can look at those in the iCard or at the end of the video. There'll be links. I'll leave links for you. The phone is about 3 inches by 6 inches, and I've taken a piece of 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, and I'm using the smooth side to make a new picture insert for my phone. So the first thing I did was to use my older one to draw out the pattern so that I know the sections that I need to cut out. And then now I am drawing with a soft leaded graphite drawing pencil and making the symbol and some fish for Pisces. My birthday is in March and I am a Pisces, so I thought that this would be a nice phone case to have if you're interested in astrological signs or whatever. I don't know that I'm that much into it, but I like the picture. My original idea was to have seasonal cases for my phone when I first bought this clear silicone case. I was going to have summer and winter and fall, and I did make a spring one, and I did make a fall one, and I did not make a winter one because I never got around to it. I was going to make these cute little snowmen. It was going to be so adorable. Yeah, it's too late for that now. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you still have snow, but we never did have snow. I live in the desert, so I don't know. I'm just over the snowmen, so I decided to make this symbol for Pisces instead. When I drew the symbol in the center, I tried to draw it so that it appeared to have been made with a brush pen, like a Japanese water brush or something, or a wide calligraphy pen, so that it has that kind of a swooshy style. And then I am making sort of the idea of the yin and yang fish, and these are probably, I guess, koi fish. This is almost kind of a Japanese style tattoo looking type of an idea, I guess is what it is. But I've been looking at all these watercolor tattoos that people have been doing on Instagram, and I really like that style of tattoo, and I thought it would be kind of fun to get one someday if I ever find a professional tattoo artist that does watercolor style. So that was kind of my idea behind the tattoo, plus the fact that it's Pisces, so it's my astrological sign. So I'm just continuing to draw with the pencil and erase as I need and kind of get my pattern going on here. I did at some point decide that the whole picture was not balanced. There was too much white on the right side and not enough on the left, and so I did decide to draw in these little flower shapes just to fill it in. So then my next step is to go over my lines and fill them in using my illustration pens. These are the Faber-Castell Pitt pens, which are an India ink in a marker format. And I really like these. They stay put. They don't, smear or run or do anything crazy. So I like to use them, but a couple of them are just too darn dry now and I need to get some new ones. I use them a lot for illustration, so I ended up using this chisel tip one, which is a little bit different than I've ever used before, but it worked out fine. And since the chisel tip has the options of basically being very fine or very fat. It's like for calligraphy, it's got that angle. I could make thin and thick lines on my illustration using just the one pen, so I didn't have to switch out between small, medium, large, brush, whatever. I did use the brush pen on the symbol, the Pisces symbol in the middle. It kind of looks like an H. Don't know why it looks like an H other than that's just supposed to be the fish, the fish head and the fish tail. So once I was done doing all my lines using Pitt pens, I erased the excess graphite so that I could move on to the next step. And the other day I was using my little fine tip white and black acrylic paint in the fine liners, and I remembered that I had a masking fluid fine liner and I wanted to get it out and play with it. Masking fluid is used with any kind of a watercolor medium, and it seals the paper, seals whatever color the paper is underneath this rubbery stuff. It's kind of almost like that old glue, rubber cement. It's kind of like that, and if you can use rubber cement to mask as well. But what's interesting about this one is it's in the fine liner bottle, so I can just draw real fine lines with it. It did come out faster than I expected, and I did get a few blobs, but I'm just putting the masking fluid where I want there to be white at the end, because I'm going to go over this with the watercolor medium stuff, and so I wanted there to be like highlights. It's kind of the same look as if I went over at the end with a white marker. So you may get confused when you see the end result, but it's just a different way of doing watercolor, and I wanted to mess around with some different pigment powders and things like that. So that's why I picked watercolor paper for this particular project. Now I have these powders in these little baggies that my friend and viewer Nikki sent me, all the way from England. She sent me these, and I think they're called Pixie powders, and they're a pigment powder, kind of like Brushos or Ken Oliver, Color Burst, those type of things, except for they have mica in addition to them. And she sent them to me a few months ago, and I just haven't gotten around to playing with them yet, so I wanted to try them out. So I first carefully opened the little baggies because I didn't want to get that stuff everywhere, including in my lungs. And then I was using like a metal spoon scoop type of a scoop thing to shake the powders on, because it's just dry powder. It's very, very fine. It's different than Brusho crystals, because those are more like a crystal. The Ken Oliver powders are a little bit more like this kind of a finer powder, but I would say this is even finer. And it spreads with water. So I was using a mini mister and eventually a larger spray bottle because my mini mister ran out of water. But the whole difference between those other powders I was mentioning and these is that it's shimmery. So it has the pigment, but then it also has a shimmer effect. And you know, I like shimmery, glittery stuff, so I was excited to play with these. I eventually did decide that I could get a finer application if I used a dry paintbrush and just dipped it in the powder and then flicked it onto the paper. I'm using a paper towel, kitchen towel, to blot up, because I'm getting so much curl. You do need to spray the back of the paper, and I eventually did remember to do that so that it doesn't curl as much, but I'm blotting up the puddles that I'm getting at the ends of the papers. At the paper on the ends is getting puddles, so I'm blotting up puddles, which does lighten the color quite a bit. And then I thought, okay, I have a limited palette here of these pixie powders. There's like 6 or something. How else could I get the same effect? So then I thought to myself, well, Glimmer Mist from Tattered Angels is a mica spray. So if I used a light color Glimmer Mist over the pigment powder crystal thingies, then I might get a similar effect of having a shimmery, random watercolory looking effect as I would have with the pixie powder. So then I tried that out. I'm going to get when I was at Creativations recently, I used this color of Glimmer Mist called Precious Metal, and I really want that color. Also the taffy one. Those two that I used, I hadn't used them before. They have so much shimmer in them, so I'm going to get those two on my next order from Canvas Corp Brands Tattered Angels. But I think it worked well. I ended up getting a lot of shimmer on my project from the spray, and the fact that the Glimmer Mist is a water-based spray, it activated the crystals just as if I had sprayed just plain water. So it was a fun experiment, and I'm going to use that little piece of paper sometime on a collage piece that I just mopped that all up with. So once I had all of that dry and shimmery, then I decided that I wanted to apply some color directly to a certain areas. So I decided to use my Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons because I can apply them directly where I want them, just so that I can really delineate the illustrated images from the background. So I used orange and then yellow, and then I used some blue just around the edges, not coloring in the whole thing, but just adding targeted color in certain areas so that it would make the fishes stand out from the background, if that makes sense. And then I'm just activating that with water on a watercolor brush. Same brush I dipped the powders in, actually, except for I got it wet, so now it's a wet brush instead of a dry brush. Excuse me. So then I'm removing the masking fluid, and you can do this with your finger by just rubbing it with your finger, but I have this tool that makes it super easy to remove masking fluid, and I will link it in the description box below with all the materials used so that you can find it. It's, I don't know what it's called, sticky remover tool thing. It's like a rubbery thing that helps remove sticky tape and masking fluid and rubber cement and things off of stuff. So, handy tool. Touched up a few of the white spots with my white Posca pen, and I also made some white splatter with my white Posca pen and gave that a really, really good dry. And then I went and trimmed every place that I needed to trim to make this fit into my phone case, the rounded edges, and then I used an X-Acto knife to cut out the little hole. Oh, before I did that, I have this glitter pen that Nikki also sent me, and I added some really fine glitter to the fishes just because I just wanted more shimmer on there. It's a clear glitter pen, brush pen. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please remember to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment so I know you were here, or a question in the comments if you have a question. Subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. And of course, share if you want to. And I think that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.